Here we are. So Martin Leidel, your co-founder and lead developer, although we agree that we don't like the word lead that much, so yeah. we're gonna keep it easy going. C-Power, it's the game you're working on. You've been working on C-Power for how long now?
Since 2018, so we started at that time.
It's quite a long time.
It's quite a long time, yeah.
Did you get bored of it?
No, sometimes burned out actually.
Okay.
But that's, I guess, part of the game.
It's part of the job, I guess, yeah. So it's an interesting conversation we're having today. And I'll start from the fact that C-Power has been launched in early access about a year ago now?
Yes, in November last year.
November last year. So tell us the experience of having a game in early access. You know, what does it mean? How's it going?
Okay, so originally our plan was to do a full release, but we were a bit over optimistic about how fast we progress, and also we had quite some feature creep all the time. So we started adding new features all the time, and you know, you never get finished, right? So at some point we said, let's do a cut, just focus on bug fixing, and roll it out because it was just time. It's as we were in development about 6 years, it really was time to release it, and so we decided to do a cut feature-wise. So we took out the dynamic campaign to finish that later, and just release it as early access, which was a good decision.
Yeah. So, and I guess that this is an interesting. So you didn't plan to start with early access because you wanted to, but then at some point you say, right, you know, we need. I guess it's more like you need the help of the players as well, in a sense. Is there an element of that as well?
That as well, yeah. So we have a very helpful community, actually. Also, lots of veterans and players who really know that in depth, so to say, and that's very helpful. So we get lots of feedback about that. That's also part of early access, of course, as you know. So
it's interesting because when you're in early access, you have this thing where you basically have to, on one hand, stick to your roadmap because you have made promises, you know, but on the other hand, you have to listen to your customers. So, you know, how do you juggle this job of, like, you know, prioritizing and making sure that you both service the community but also stick to your promise you made to the community?
Yeah, that's sometimes tricky. So community-wise, we have basically two main sources of communication. One is the Steam forums, of course, and we also have a very active Discord community. And for us, it's often easier to communicate with Discord directly with the players because it's more a chat-like thing. And yeah, we get lots of feedback. It's very helpful, and it's, as you all know, game development always takes more time than you usually anticipate, right?
Yeah.
It's the same now for our early access roadmap. So we are a bit in delay again, but we are making good progress. Currently working on the AI side of things. So it will be a scriptable AI, so it can be modded pretty heavily as well. And after that, the dynamic campaign will follow, yeah.
There's one thing about C-Power which I found fascinating is that you've got a large audience. You've got, I think, 91% of positive reviews on Steam, which is, you know,
it's great,
fairly good.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're trying to cater to a very wide audience whilst keeping an expert audience happy. That's not easy, right?
That's tricky, yeah.
What's the process in trying to achieve that? I guess because, you know, everyone tries, not many succeed in doing that. So,
thank you. Yeah, in general, it's quite tricky indeed, because we want to have an approachable game, a wider audience, but also listen to if there are any input from more, I say, hardcore players. But we all know that realism usually isn't fun, right? Okay. So in the end, it's a game, and if we would go too much into the realism side of things, it could become kind of pretty boring. Maybe kind of an Excel sheet calculation or so, right? Even so, our main goal was always to make it fun first, but also keep it kind of realistic. So when there are when we get some feedback that, let's say, some missile has a wrong range or so, of course we correct that and fix it. And but on the other hand, we also have gameplay elements like pausable real time, for instance. That's not happening in reality, of course, but it's necessary.
And your community of experts understands this difference between realism and fun, and they are, helping you, right, in this.
Yes.
Because that's really the tricky part, right? Or convince an expert that it doesn't always have to behave exactly as in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot please anyone anyway. So and we just want to make it fun. That's our first goal, right? But
well, you're succeeding very well, so that's a very big thing. The idea of building something that's also trying to service a community, in a sense that process-wise, you're using a lot of scripting, less hard-coded stuff. You're trying to give more tools to the community to create their own content and so on. How do you intend to develop over time about this concept, in this vision?
So modding was always a very important thing for us, because many games really live from the modding community. Let's say games like Code Waters, for instance, which is a very good game, and even though it did not get updates lately, it still is kept alive by the modding community. And we had that in mind from the get-go, that we support the modding community in the best way we could imagine, which means coding-wise, for instance, there's just a ship class, and that could be anything from a carrier to a fishing boat, so to say. There's not much difference. So we compose it with text files, basically, how a unit is set up with the weapon systems, sensors, and all that stuff. And that's, of course, things that modders can do as well, and they actually do that quite heavily, more than we anticipated. So it's tons of mods out there, which is great, right? So we love that. And
there's already mods out there that are being actively supported, and you're integrating. Okay.
Yeah, and we also want to extend that modding support in a way that we make it easier to integrate own models, for instance. We haven't done that yet on purpose, because it's still in early access, so lots of moving parts, and we just don't want too much stuff to break, so to say.
Yeah. So basically what happens is that when you release an update, then you've got players would have to, or modders would have to update their mod too.
Yes.
So otherwise they don't align.
And when it comes to models and all that stuff, it really gets complicated.
Of course. What is the biggest challenge in creating a game that's I guess a lot of different things, right? So I was mentioning earlier that there's a lot of hybrid games out there, right? Something that is a bit strategy, a bit of simulation, and a bit grand strategy, and so on. And Sea-Power is a good example of that. It's trying to, of course, it's a tactical, warfare game, but it's also a simulation. It's trying to sort of, there's a lot of management as well in it when you manage your fleet and so on. So, in terms of course, designing, but also implementing the design, how is the decision made into sort of how to manage all these different genres?
So the main point, I think, for a game is, or one of the main points is user interface, actually, because that's where the player interacts with the game, right? So we lean towards a more, let's say, simple interface, more text-based. And we had some mock-ups in the beginning, like with icons and so, which look nice. Okay. But when you need tooltips to know what that icon does, it's yeah, it's not a good thing, so to say, right?
Of course.
And in military, as far as I know, usually text-based interfaces are always used. They are not that eye-catchy, but they are pretty functional, and that's what we wanted to do as well. And so we can basically either go from the map that you issue commands there, or also use in a 3D world that you click on units itself and then issue commands, and also use keyboard shortcuts, of course.
So this is an interesting one. So basically, because everything is text-based, and is your game localized?
Yes, it's localized. So we have two things. One is that we have voiceovers, currently English, of course, and also in Russian. We are currently planning, or in the progress of adding more spoken languages. And text-wise, we have it in German. Of course, it's second place in the market share.
Okay.
Germany is always strong in simulation games. German, Russian, of course. Then we have Chinese, Korean, French, and Spanish.
All right. Okay.
No Italian, unfortunately, yet.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. We know we're coming like bottom of the charts anyway. So how do you manage this thing where basically in Germany, like a word is usually 3 times the length of an English one?
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, maybe for the next game or so, it would be a good decision to just develop it in German, right? So you maybe know how much space you need. And even though I'm a native German, I did not do the translation myself, but I have a good friend who's doing that, and he's doing a very, very great job. And I'm happy that I don't have to do that, actually. But it's tricky, yeah.
You've just released a new set of units, right?
Yes. Chinese units.
How did it go with the Chinese players? All good?
Very good, yeah. Okay. They are very happy.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't speak any Chinese, but what I...
I'm very jealous about your happy Chinese community.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you mean.
But, Martin, do you have a passion for the subject yourself?
Yes. I mean, I grew up with Microprose games, and played games like Silent Service, for instance, I really loved. Also other Microprose games, or games like XCOM. But our main inspiration was Jane's Fleet's Command.
All right.
So that's basically the game we try to mirror and get the same feeling, but in a more modern look.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's one thing I keep reminding myself, but because we work within a genre that's not getting a lot of visibility in general media, in wider media. That's why we try to do a lot for servicing communities and so on, right? So. And you were referring to an era when there were like multiple submarine simulators or multiple, very core strategy games. What do you think happened in the landscape that we are, that community sort of didn't grow big enough to be, catering to, for the big publishers or for, the bigger guys investing in the genre?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a niche genre. So especially nowadays, so it always comes in waves, so to say. I think there is some kind of a revival for strategy games, real-time strategy, and also real-time tactics, which is more C-Power. And we also did a survey, because I originally thought that games like C-Power or real-time strategy in general is more played by like people like our generation, right? So the older guys. But the survey showed, we asked for the age of the player, that about 50% or so are in the age range of 18 to mid-20, which really surprised me.
Yeah,
so I would never have expected that. So there's some, I think some new player base growing up now.
I keep referring to this as the farming simulator effect. You think that a farming simulator would be a niche product, but it sells millions of copies, right?
I know because they released exact the same date as we did. So farming simulator.
But it's very interesting because there seems to be no interest in general to sort of keep making games for these niche audiences, but they are big.
Yes.
So, it shows with Sea Power and many other games that there's a significant amount of people interested in these things. And it surprises me that only a few companies, maybe luckily, not many companies are investing in it.
Yes, I think it's probably too little for the big companies, but also maybe too complex for the really tiny ones. I mean, we struggled quite a lot during development as well. We started with 3 people and then later on added more, even hired some from the modding community, luckily, because they know about how to make a game moddable. And so we are very, very grateful to have them, and it's a great team, all very self-containing, and they all know what they are doing, so that's great. Good for me as well.
How big is the team now?
About 10 to 12 people.
Okay.
Not all full-time, but it's
starting to be a proper, management job.
Yeah, but as I said, the good thing is that it's that you don't need that much managing.
Okay. There's one thing I wanted to ask. Interestingly, is that you have been working on a period of history that's not, I guess, not the most popular, right? Because Cold War is a hard subject.
It's
not
a cold
really
subject.
War. It's cold. It's So why did you choose that setting?
So we thought that especially that era in the 60s to 80s is the most interesting one. It's post World War II, so you have lots of new technology. But it's also still not too complex. So when you go too far into the future, it's very computer-based, very modern, and also very unbalanced. So in the 60s to 80s, it was that the Soviet and NATO side was kind of balanced in a conventional way. And nuclear is a different topic, of course, but and it was also very interesting when it comes to how the units are constructed, so to say. So the Americans are very modular, and you can reload on C, and you could swap out one system and exchange it with another weapon system. While the Soviets, I don't want to offend any Russian listeners, but they really just took some block of steel, I have the impression, put everything on top they could get hands on, and just shipped it, right? And also doctrine-wise, it was quite different. So the Soviet ships at that time, honestly, I don't know how it's nowadays, but you could only reload them usually in ports. So you had to move back. And that's, of course, a big disadvantage when you're in open sea. But,
of course.
Their doctrine was never meant to be that they go out to the Atlantic anyway, because they knew they wouldn't stand a chance against the carriers of the US.
Americans. Absolutely. And it's also going back to this idea of making a game that's fun, right? Because if you have too much modern tech with too many different layers of complexity, then it's getting less fun.
Yes, if one side is too superior, so to say, it's like click fast. Okay. You know the outcome upfront.
Very quickly. Yeah. The last question, Martin. Do you expect that there's the life cycle of Sea Power? How do you expect it to grow in a sense of you've been working on it for 5 years, then release early access, then early access for, I don't know, like 1, 2, whatever years, then you release 1.0, and you all know that's not going to be over, right? You still be working on Sea Power for some time. How do you expect the curve? What's your expectations on the future of Sea Power?
So our goal is to release the 1.0, so the first release, so to say, after early access next year, and after that, we definitely want to support it for years to come, because there's so many units to add. It's amazing. I've learned so much during development. I wasn't aware how many different units were available. We also have some fictional units, like carriers, which never made it into sea, or even aircraft, especially from the Soviet side. And we are not necessarily adding them because of balancing, but because it's fun, right? So, and we definitely want to support CPOR for the time being. So that's basically our baby, and it's worth it. There's so many ideas.
I look forward to that. Now, Martin, the hard part of our interview.
Oh, I see.
For you. So
let me take.
You deserve some, yes. So we went from green to yellow here.
No. No red cards.
5 questions for you. Don't take too much time to answer. And are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, how many times were you really pissed off about the customer's feedback?
Sometimes, especially when reading Steam forums. This could be sometimes a toxic place, but I also know to sum that up that people tend to complain more often rather than they give praise or so. In that regard, we are pretty happy here.
Favorite unit you have in the game and why?
Favorite unit in the game? That would be Soviet chips like the Krievak, for instance. I really like the look and shape and all of them. It's
great. Do you drink a cappuccino after lunch?
I've learned that in Italy you should never drink a cappuccino after 11 a.m. So, but I ordered one, and yes, I do and enjoy it.
Favorite strategy game ever?
That must be for me. It's the old ones like History Line and XCOM. I'm not sure if XCOM is really it's a turn-based strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the hardest thing you did working on C-Power so far?
Oh, that's a good question. The hardest thing beside managing people? Okay.
I think that's an answer.
What was so hardest thing actually is to get performance improvements with an engine like Unity, which is pretty much single-threaded. So it's pretty technical now, but the entire Unity API is not usable in multi-threaded environment. And our game is very CPU-bound due to all the sensor stuff and the sheer size of the entire area. So that's still a big thing we are working on. Yeah, it's a never-ending story.
It is a very common issue, and if you sort it out, let us know. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.